Sweden is preparing for a tough retaliation against Donald Trump's new tariffs, which have shaken the European Union. The Swedish government is advocating for free trade and globalization. With its export-oriented economy, selling a significant amount of goods to the U.S. market. However, Trump's America First slogan and accompanying tariffs have led the Stockholm administration to counterattack shoulder to shoulder with the European Union. Sweden wants to be ready for U.S. tariffs on steel, aluminum, automotive, and white goods. President Trump announced his plan to hit the European Union with a 25% tariff.
The tariffs, as you know, will start a week earlier than the reciprocal, which is going to be on a couple of weeks earlier. Reciprocal tariffs start on April 2nd. And I wanted to make it April 1st, but I didn't want to go April Fool's Day, because that costs a lot of money, but that one day. But so we're going April 2nd. But very importantly, tomorrow tariffs 25% on Canada and 25% on Mexico, and that'll start. So they're going to have a tariff. So what they have to do is build their car plants, frankly, and other things in the United States, in which case they have no tariffs. In other words, you build, and this is exactly what Mr. Wei is doing, by building here. Otherwise, they'll build, if they did them in Taiwan to send them here, they'll have 25% or 30% or 50% or whatever the number may be someday. It'll go only up. But by doing it here, he has no tariff, so he's way ahead of the game. And I would just say this to people in Canada or Mexico: if they're going to build car plants, the people that are doing them are much better off building here, because we have the market. We're the market where they sell the most. And so I think it's going to be very exciting for the automobile companies, Mexico or for Canada. No, the tariffs, they're all set. They go into effect tomorrow.
Mr. President, just to follow up on my colleague's question.
And just so you understand, vast amounts of fentanyl have poured into our country from Mexico. And as you know, also from China, where it goes to Mexico and goes to Canada. And China also had an additional 10, so it's 10 plus 10. And it comes in from Canada and it comes in from Mexico. Tariffs are easy, they're fast, they're efficient, and they bring fairness. For instance, when people kill their dollar, their equivalent of the dollar, whether it's the yuan or the yen in Japan or the yuan in China, when they drop them down, that puts us at a very unfair disadvantage. So all I have to do is say, Howard, we're going to have to raise the tariffs a little bit, because I've called President Xi, I've called the leaders of Japan to say you can't continue to reduce and break down your currency. You can't do it because it's unfair to us. If we had a president that knew what they were doing, and we had a lot of them very bad on trade. Look, I'm a huge fan of Ronald Reagan, but he was bad on trade, very bad on trade. He allowed a lot of people, a lot of businesses to be taken. So I say that with due respect, because he was so great on other things, but he was bad on trade. We are setting records right now, records like nobody has ever seen before. When you have companies like this coming in, and almost 40% of their company in one signature is going to be devoted to what he does, which is one of the most important businesses in the world. That's an unbelievable thing. When Apple now is going to start building all of their plants here, all because of what we've done in terms of, it's not because he likes me or they like me. They don't probably like me at all. I don't know. I think he likes me a little bit at least. But you know what? It's the incentive we created, or the negative incentive. I mean, it's going to be very costly for people to take advantage of this country. They can't come in and steal our money and steal our jobs and take our factories and take our businesses and expect not to be punished. And they're being punished by tariffs. It's a very powerful weapon that politicians haven't used because they were either dishonest, stupid, or paid off in some other form.
Swedish Minister for International Development Cooperation and Foreign Trade, Benjamin Dowsett, emphasized the importance of continuing to work for free trade and reaffirmed Sweden's commitment to work within the European Union framework to formulate a measured response. Swedish companies are preparing contingency plans to address logistics and supply chains if the tariffs come into force. Global giants such as Volvo, Scania, and SKF are in private discussions with customers in the American market. Some argue that Sweden could turn this crisis into an opportunity by turning to other parts of the world, such as the Asian market and the Gulf countries in Africa. However, some question the realisticity of this approach, as the United States remains a huge market, and there has long been a healthy trade relationship between Sweden and the U.S. Sweden's trade ministers are trying to convince the world that Sweden is safer than ever for investments in science and technology and will not be shaken by Trump's decisions. There is talk of a 2.0 version of Trump's aggressive policies, with the expectation that large tariffs will be imposed on Europe, especially in the automotive sector. Sweden's small but strategic role in the game is uncertain, with some arguing that it will focus more on Asia and the Middle East if European companies withdraw from the U.S. market. The life sciences and pharmaceutical sectors often collaborate with research and development centers in the United States, and a trade war between the two could lead to a loss for both sides. The automotive sector is particularly concerned, as Trump 2.0 tariffs have raised costs and put producers under price pressure. If the European Union unites with its members, Sweden may not take a separate decision on this issue. However, bilateral talks are likely happening in the background to avoid burning bridges with the United States that a new trade war could lead to a big loss for both sides, with European firms shifting production to countries other than the United States and U.S. firms seeking alternative markets. This could create additional costs and inefficiencies in global supply chains, leading to increased consumer prices, growth rates, and shrinking trade volumes. Sweden can play a leading role in alternative markets by making breakthroughs in next-generation engineering and green technologies. Emerging economies in Asia and Africa are demanding environmentally friendly technologies, and Swedish companies may focus on these markets if things go wrong with the United States. The Swedish government has both a harsh tone and a call for dialogue, expressing both support for coordinated retaliation and preserving long-term strategic ties with the United States in the post-pandemic period. Sweden has an advantage due to its high research and development spending. The competition between the European Union and the United States is significant, and Sweden would like to work with both markets in a win-win model.